Okay, buckle up, because what went down in that courtroom was straight out of a Hollywood thriller, only worse, because this wasn't fiction. This was real, raw, and it unfolded in front of everyone like a bomb that had been ticking quietly for years until it exploded. The courtroom was packed. Reporters weren't just sitting, they were practically levitating off their chairs, pens hovering midair. Every single person in that room could feel something monumental was about to happen. And then, like a movie moment, the doors creaked open. In walked a man who wasn't a celebrity, didn't come with a glam squad, and didn't care about the cameras. But oh, he had everything. The man of the hour, FBI agent Monroe. And the air, it just stopped moving. You could practically hear the collective breath being held as he stepped up to the witness stand. This wasn't TikTok drama. This wasn't TMZ gossip. This was federal truth, finally, undeniably, about to be spoken out loud. The judge gave a nod. The prosecutor stepped forward. Agent Monroe, tell the court exactly what you found inside the hidden vault at Mr. Combs' Beverly Hills residence. Boom. The room fell so silent you could hear hearts pounding. Agent Monroe didn't rush. He just stared ahead, and then, with the calm of a man holding the truth everyone feared, he began. There was a hidden vault. Not in the basement behind a false wall. No one knew, not even the house staff. You needed biometric access to even get in. You could feel the gasps rolling through the crowd. People whitened their eyes. Diddy's own legal team fidgeted like they were sitting on a beehive. And Diddy? Stone cold, but his hands clenched so tightly his knuckles went white. But Agent Monroe wasn't even close to done. Inside that vault, it wasn't just dusty boxes or old tax returns. No, what they found was something no one could have imagined in their worst nightmares. Encrypted hard drives, stacks of folders marked with dates and initials, video files, audio files, handwritten notes. It was like the diary of a man who didn't just collect secrets, he weaponized them. And the pattern? That's what shook the courtroom to its core. One whole section was labeled assets. Inside, contracts, photos, emails, personal messages, even confessions. Yes, actual confessions recorded and transcribed. Who does that? There was a handwritten log so detailed it looked like a CEO's schedule, but darker, much darker. It listed celebrities, industry executives, unknown insiders. Each had notes next to them like paid, compliant, still useful, watch. Who writes stuff like that unless they're running an empire of manipulation? One woman in the gallery audibly gasped. And the judge? He lifted his gavel like he was about to strike, but then he just let it hover because everyone knew we were only at the beginning. Monroe dropped the next bomb. A second room, deeper inside the vault, protected by a separate passcode. Inside that, a safe. And inside the safe, well, they hadn't even processed it all yet, but Monroe said it plain. This wasn't a panic room, it was a control room. Chills, literal chills swept the room. Even seasoned reporters looked like they were seeing ghosts. But oh honey, it got worse. Monroe continued. There was a digital folder titled Pending Insurance Level Red. Everyone leaned in. Level Red? What does that even mean? Turns out it's the FBI's highest internal tag, used for materials so sensitive they involve coercion, national threats, or even lives. In Diddy's case, it was personal. Extortion level personal. The files? Scary stuff. Videos, audio, money trails, documents that could destroy people. One clip featured a major industry exec drunk and spilling secrets, filmed without them knowing. The device? Linked to a hidden camera at one of Diddy's properties. Let that sink in. Every single piece of dirt he had was organized, cataloged, with timestamps, metadata, and career timelines like a spider with an entire web of leverage at his fingertips. Diddy just sat there, frozen, unblinking, his lawyers scribbling notes like their life depended on it. Because it did. But Agent Monroe was just warming up. There were passports, multiple under fake names, all used, all stamped. There were bearer bonds, bundles of cash, a list. Yes, a list. It had names. Big names, politicians, celebs, media moguls. Next to each name, labels like owned. The room couldn't breathe. Agent Monroe had just dropped the kind of truth that doesn't just rattle headlines. It reconstructs entire reputations. And yet, somehow, the atmosphere in the courtroom thickened even more. He leaned closer to the mic. Just hearing that out loud made the prosecutor blink, the jury stiffen, and a woman in the back clutch her pearls. What was in it? Files. Dozens of them. Videos, money wires, shady recordings, and even fake documents crafted to bury reputations if released. This wasn't just insurance, Monroe said. This was extortion in preparation. Then he gave the most bone-chilling example yet, a secret recording of a famous executive venting during a private retreat. Sounds harmless, except it was filmed without their knowledge by a camera embedded in one of Diddy's guest homes. The timestamps, the locations, all real. Monroe confirmed the surveillance equipment was custom installed and traced directly back to Diddy's inner circle. Let that sink in. He wasn't just collecting dirt. He was systematically recording, cataloging, and weaponizing people's most private moments. He even had metadata logs. Yep, he tracked their careers, contract renewals, and public behavior. If someone so much as tweeted sideways, Diddy had a file ready to shut it down. His jaw clenched, his lips twitched, his legacy crumbling in real time. And then Monroe dropped the next shockwave. There were physical items in the vault, he said. Stacks of cash, bearer bonds, multiple passports, under aliases, all of them used, all of them real. Now, the judge leaned back in his chair, clearly rattled. One juror was shaking their foot so hard the entire jury box was vibrating. Another had their hand clamped over their mouth. But Monroe wasn't done, not even close. We found a list, he said, pulling a printed document from his file. Not just any list. This was Diddy's Vault Index. An actual categorized roster of celebrities, politicians, media powerhouses, each with tags like owned, owed, watch, and target. Some had dates, some had creepy annotations that the FBI was still trying to decode. The prosecutor asked, "Are you saying Diddy kept a master list of people he had influence over?" Monroe didn't even blink. Yes. And he called it his Vault Index. A fresh wave of gasps crashed through the courtroom. The judge slammed his gavel, but the damage was already done. The truth wasn't whispered anymore, it was thundered. Monroe leaned in. This wasn't a vault of memories. It was an empire of intimidation. 24 years in the Bureau, and he had never seen anything like it. And then came the part that turned people pale. "Let's talk about the recordings," Monroe said grimly. There were hundreds. Yes, you read that right, hundreds. Audio, video, categorized by year, location, and subject. Some were recorded in guest bedrooms. Some were studio confessions. Most were made without the person even knowing. Let that sit with you. One file stood out, a labeled recording titled Fallback Asset, DJNI.com. A man's voice, and intoxicated, spilling everything. Industry dirt, regrets, secrets, and then the line that made everyone freeze. "If Puff ever turns on me, I'm done." He's got everything. You could hear hearts cracking in that courtroom. It wasn't fear, it was submission. Diddy didn't just hold power, he engineered it. He built a prison with no walls and filled it with silence. In another file, an upcoming artist begged to renegotiate a contract. Diddy's reply? Calm, cold. "You want freedom? I've got a video of you in Vegas. Keep dreaming." The artist fell dead silent. The prosecutor swallowed hard. Were there minors involved? Monroe answered carefully. "We're still investigating. Some files haven't even been decrypted, but what we've seen already, it's a horrifying picture. Contracts rewritten under pressure, careers sabotaged by whispers. Collaborations ended before they began because someone stepped out of line." A journalist sitting at the back quietly wiped tears from her eyes. This wasn't just shocking anymore. It was sickening. And then Monroe placed a small, half-burned USB drive on the table. Melted on one side, recovered from behind the wall, like someone had tried to destroy it. The forensics team managed to extract 2 videos. One was sealed due to its graphic, criminal nature. The other, a private meeting with 2 major industry moguls. They weren't talking about music. They were talking about people. Who to blacklist, who to uplift, and who to keep quiet. And Diddy? He wasn't even on screen. He told how he recorded them, blackmailed them, controlled them, destroyed them. He spoke about orchestrating smear campaigns, installing surveillance, rewriting deals with coercion. But the part that froze the FBI, the courtroom, the world, the final minute, he smiled at the camera and said, "Even if they come for me, they won't believe it. They'll say I was just acting, and maybe I am. Or maybe I'm the reason none of them ever speak. Doesn't matter. The vault holds the truth and no one's got the balls to open it." Agent Monroe locked eyes with the jury. "Well," he said, We opened it. And just like that, the courtroom was split open, not with screams, but with silence, the kind that drowns, the kind you can't unhear. The prosecutor asked, "Was the video authenticated?" Monroe nodded. "Verified, timestamped, unedited, it's real, and it's damning." Diddy didn't flinch, but his shoulders gave him away. The man who once ran the charts now stared into the wreckage of his own making. The prosecutor turned to the court. "Your Honor, we have no further questions. The vault has spoken. Mr. Combs has spoken for himself, and he had, in his own words, in his own voice, on his own tape, no PR filter, no spin, no denial, the truth, raw and final." The defense declined to rebut. Another, an ex-artist who had once been poised for stardom before her contract was mysteriously canceled, sat straight for the first time in years, and across the room, a young man, barely in his 20s, shaking, leaned over and whispered, "I was part of the New Blood Initiative." That line made a reporter drop their pen. He didn't say more, he didn't need to. His face said it all. He wasn't supposed to be alive and free, and now the world finally knew why. Back outside, the media frenzy had gone nuclear. Headlines were being typed faster than fingers could move. Cameras were capturing the expressions of everyone who exited that courtroom. But inside that heavy, haunted room, the silence meant something. It wasn't awkward. It wasn't forced. It was sacred, because silence was no longer being used. It was being lifted. The judge's final words still rang like scripture. "This court has been presented with overwhelming evidence, gathered through lawful means, validated beyond dispute, and stretching far beyond this courtroom." He looked Diddy dead in the eyes. "You are not here because of who you are. You are here because of what you've done. And that is what justice will answer." And justice had answered, not just with one verdict, but with truth. The vault was never just a room, it was a mirror, a reflection of everything that gets hidden in plain sight. The kind of system where one man's silence means another's destruction, where fame becomes a mask and power becomes a weapon. And now, that mirror had shattered. And what lay behind it? Artists who disappeared after a whisper, executives who caved under pressure, dancers and rappers who signed contracts with trembling hands, journalists who were paid to look away, people who were surveilled in their own bedrooms, never knowing they were being watched. All of it was real. All of it came from that vault, a vault that wasn't built to hide, it was built to control. And Diddy? He wasn't just a man with secrets, he was a man with a strategy. But now his strategy had crumbled into dust. The victims, they finally had a voice. You could see it. Faces that had once been blurred out by NDAs and threats were now illuminated by truth. And the industry? Shaken, rattled, forced to reckon with how deep this rot ran, how many people were complicit, how many systems were used to protect the powerful while silencing the powerless. There were whispers now, not of denial, but of cleanup. Labels were holding emergency meetings, PR firms were going into crisis mode, and behind the scenes, other names started shaking. Because if Diddy could fall like this on his own recordings, his own handwriting, his own confession, then who else might be next? And so as the crowd finally left the courtroom and the doors closed for the last time, no one cheered. No one clapped. Because this wasn't a celebration. This was a reckoning. A reckoning of fame, of fear, of a man who thought no one would ever open the vault, but someone did. And now that vault was wide open. And it's not just Diddy's secrets inside anymore, it's everyone's.